So welcome to Cantini. It's my great pleasure to introduce Walter McDougall. Walter is a friend and a colleague and a distinguished scholar. I won't go through his entire CV. I was reviewing it just before I came in here, and I think it's 87 pages long, and it would take us the rest of the thing. So we won't do that. But Walter is professor of history and Alloy Anson Professor of International Relations at the University of Pennsylvania. He has a PhD from the University of Chicago, which he received in 1974. He has taught at the University of California, Berkeley. He is a distinguished teacher, professor, scholar, researcher, writer, lecturer. He has a long list of publications, one of which is a recipient of the Pulitzer Prize. And I just lost it. Yes, The Heavens and the Earth, A Political History of the Space Age in 1985. Among his other significant publications are Throes of Democracy, The American Civil War Era, 1829 to 1877, Freedom Just Around the Corner, A New American History, 1585 to 1828, Promised Land, Crusader State, The American Encounter with the World Since 1776, Let the Sea Make a Noise, A History of the North Pacific from Magellan to MacArthur, and so on and so on and so on. So Walter is a person who has thought deeply about the history of the United States, who we are as a people, who we are as a country, has written about that with great effect, and shared it with countless thousands of our fellow citizens and educators. In addition to all that, Walter is a veteran of the United States Army and the war in Vietnam and has served our country courageously. And so it is a great pleasure and privilege to introduce Walter A. McDougall.
Thank you, Paul. That introduction reminds me how old I am. I am professor of history at the University of Pennsylvania. I'm also very privileged to be a director of the Foreign Policy Research Institute's W.W. Kean Butcher History Institute for secondary school teachers. And if you're not familiar with FPRI, this is your first encounter with us, I hope you will take some time this weekend to thumb through the folders that you have, some excellent information there on the FPRI, and visit our website at www.fpri.org, which is a splendid website and has all kinds of information. You can get lost in it for hours. But in particular, I want to direct your attention to a very short introduction and description of FPRI and its philosophy and its approach, which appears on the right-hand column of the home page by my good friend and colleague, James Kurth. So that will give you a very good introduction to the rest of the website and indeed to the rest of FPRI's world of enterprise. I speak today on behalf of FPRI's president, Alan Luxenberg, Dr. Michael Noonan, the director of our National Security Program, Paul Dickler, our veteran APUSH teacher, who has assisted at every one of our history institutes over the decades, Rachel Hemler, the events coordinator, and our entire staff. And on behalf of all those people and more, I welcome you to this, our, we believe, 54th weekend conference in a program now in its 24th year. This is also, we believe, our 12th History Institute here at the First Division Museum. The fact that I have to say we believe sort of doesn't reflect well on our career as historians. We're not sure. We argued about this last night, and we'll have to go back and do some serious fact-checking, get back into the archives. But at any rate, we've been around a long time, and we must be doing something very right. Finally, we extend special thanks to the First Division Museum here at Cantini, a magnificent location and we are especially grateful to Colonel Paul Herbert, J.D. Kames, and their outstanding staff. Most of all, we thank you, the audience, or I should say participants, because you will participate in this weekend's events, and you comprise a self-selected, highly motivated cadre of teachers who do battle like soldiers daily on the front lines against the ignorance or apathy of American students, the distractions of social media, and, let me guess, maybe your administrations. And for that service to your country, we promise to reward you with an exhilarating 28 hours, featuring a distinguished roster of lecturers, plus plenty of good chow and hospitality besides. This conference, this weekend, commemorates the 99th anniversary of the United States' entry into the Great War on April 6, 1917. It is simply impossible to exaggerate the importance of that event's origins, immediate effects, and long-range consequences for American, European, and world history. As a result, it's impossible to cover that subject in one lifetime of scholarship, let alone one weekend conference. But we've chosen our topics and speakers carefully, and we mean to address many of the critical themes you may want to include in classroom lesson plans, themes that evoke the heroic, but also the ironic and ultimately tragic realities of Woodrow Wilson's Great Crusade.